Crafty Yunnan. I thought it was closer than what it seemed like on the choke. Well, obviously I don't know how long the choke was, but I thought the second round was a lot closer than people seem to say on Twitter and stuff. That's the first time we watched
What impression did you have of the battle from just social media?
I thought like Craft won, not clear, but I thought like his choke would be mid of the round, not the end. So Yunnan rapped for like 4 minutes, and then choked. And like we said, he should have just called time. But I think if even with the choke involved, I don't think like that's another thing. If you choke at the end of your round, if you rap for that long, does that count as a loss?
Well, it doesn't officially count as a loss, but it does in the viewer's mind, doesn't it?
But I suppose as a battle rapper, like especially for that many years, you should know, raw. You know what? I've rapped long enough. You know, let me just call time instead of trying to go.
But
back
that's
into
because
some
battle
next
rap's
long
become
scene.
it's not as cool anymore. But there was a phase a few years ago where it was cool to rap as long as possible. It's only things now like Soul Khan Soul Khan and Diz, where people are rapping for an hour and a half. Just suddenly made it not cool anymore.
But even still on URL, it's like 10-minute rounds and a lot of battles, and it's like
I'm saying people are getting more and more bored of it. That's why in their private events and shit they only do
3 minutes,
3-minute rounds now. Because that's what the point I'm making is it's become, even though it's on the decline, it's definitely on the decline now. Like doing super long rounds is on the decline, but it's still cool enough that someone like Yunnan can spit for 4 minutes, and feel like he's actually still fucked up his verse. Some people don't rap for 4 minutes in an entire battle.
Yeah, it's true.
Often you don't. If you do 3 1-minute rounds and they're newcomers that always stick to the rules, you're only spitting for 3 minutes of a whole battle. Yunnan spat for 4 in one round and still was like, it's not enough, and he made the choke obvious.
But my whole thing as well,
second he couldn't remember a bar, he should have stopped rapping.
Yeah, definitely. But my whole thing as well is like, if you're doing like 7-bar setups to do a punch every 8, then you're gonna be writing for 4 minutes, innit?
Yeah.
Like, whereas like certain people who try and say what they want to say every 2 bars or whatever, then they don't need that much time.
Yeah.
And I've written for people where it's like, okay, I've been told that this is a 3-minute round battle, and after a minute and a half, I've literally said everything that I wanted to say to that prayer in that round.
Yeah.
So it's like now I'm gonna have to purposely add filler to that round.
Yeah.
And then that's where it becomes boring. So there's a very thin line between, you know, how long you're rapping for.
The thing is, if you're in a title match, you really can't afford to have any kind of a choke, because when it's judged and you're looking at it and you've got 2 people, you're not going to have one real dead guy and one good guy because it's a title match. They're pretty much going to be relatively evenly matched. It's quite hard to actually work out who's better out of the 2. You're looking for massive haymakers or like massive angles, things like that. As soon as you choke, even if it's the end of a round, those judges are going to be like, right, okay, there's something that I can say he's probably lost that round.
Yeah.
I think that there wasn't really any big...
Well, you were a judge, to be clear.
Yeah, this is it.
What was your thoughts on it personally?
Yeah, the first round, I was definitely giving it to Yunnan. I just felt like they both matched each other for technically, their angles, everything was pretty level. Yunnan just brought that, he had that extra character, he had that X factor that Kraft, I just never thought he, even in that title match where he was great, I still don't feel he got a round in that was possibly as good as Yunnan's first, like personally. So I was already...
What did you think of Kraft's first round, like as a whole anyway, even if you thought it wasn't as good as Yunnan's? What did you think of his first round?
I thought it was really solid, and I thought it was probably the best that he could have brought. And I was like, okay, but he's leaving the door slightly open for Yunnan to do what he did and step into it. But then what he actually did in his second and third craft was upped it from what he did in that first. But yeah, I was probably still edging towards Yunnan, but it's just those chokes where you got the big one, which I don't know if we're going to see it all in the footage, because of the way it is at the end of a round, it's quite easy to cut it down. But when you're in the room and you're actually soaking it all up,
it feels horrible, man.
You're like, okay,
horrible.
you can almost hear the pencils scratching already. And it went into that last round, and he kind of went again, and you're gonna lose.
Okay, so when you were watching it live, when Yunnan choked, because it is so different in the room, obviously. When he choked, did you feel like watching it that he he should have just stopped because he'd already spat enough? Or were you just so lost in it that all you focus on is a choke? Because when we watch the footage back, everybody who watches the footage back says the same thing. They're just like, what the fuck? He spat for like a good solid 3-4 minutes. If he'd stopped, no one would have known. But did it feel like that in the room that he spat enough?
Hindsight's 20/20, and if you know it's coming, you can say just cut it off there. But in his head, if he's got like 8 bars left and he's got a banger, he's not going to cut it off. So then when just in the moment, you're thinking, well, it's going to be shit if I cut it off here anyway. Like the real heads are going to know that I've cut it off.
But it don't always have to be like that. I think like sometimes you have to look at it like this, yeah, especially in a title match and that, yeah. If I've rapped for 3 minutes and he's rapped for 3 minutes and the 3 minutes worth of what I've said is better than the 3 minutes worth of what he said, then I don't have to continue. Like I can call time because I know that I've rapped better for 3 minutes than he has.
Yeah, you done enough.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And save them punches for another battle, reword them, whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's when your mind's like thinking clearly. And like we were sort of saying when we watched it, like Kraft kind of rocked him in that second round with some of his personals. You could see that he felt it, and it probably did fry his brain a little bit. And he wants to get it all out, and you start making mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's tough because what you're saying about save the bars, that's a very 20/20 hindsight thing to say because you don't know how many of his bars he forgot could only be applied to Kraft D.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Nearly every, I tell you from my personal experience, every battle I've ever written always starts and always finishes the same way. It begins with a load of generic bars just to get the juices flowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Begins, and I think, oh, okay, that's actually cool. I've actually got almost 24 bars around. That's always how I used to write, yeah, 24 to 28 bars. So I'll get somewhere between 24 and 28 bars and be like, oh, well, actually, I got like 12 personals bars and then 12 generic bars. But then by the time you step in the ring, usually when you've had to trim down, I know Unan probably doesn't even know what trim down means, but like for his experience. But for me, I'm saying, like, I think for a lot of other people as well, once you hit the trim down stage, all the generic shit's out the window, right? So that what I'm saying is by the time you're choking in the battle, you're choking on 24 or plus personal bars you've crafted, no pun intended, for that person. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're doing a 10-minute one-rounder on some next league in the middle of nowhere in America because there's not a smack event that weekend and you want $500. Bruv, if you're spitting 3-4 minutes of mixtape shit, it doesn't matter if you choke it because you can use it on the next weekend in the next city. Unan can't. The reason he's getting so pissed off because he was like, yo, I'm going to body Kraft with bars about Kraft and I'm forgetting those bars.
Of course. But I think as well, it's self-awareness as well, though. It's like actually taking a step out of your situation. Every rapper thinks, you know what, I know I written the best shit. I need everyone to hear this. I've got to get it off my chest. I've got to deliver it. I've got to beat this guy with these bars. But if you have a bit of self-awareness, you can say to yourself, do you know what? At the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, I've already won. Like, getting these bars off right now ain't that much of a big deal. But if like I said when we was watching it, if you stand there, and I've done this myself, innit, and I've learned the hard way, and I've looked back and watched it myself, and if you stand there and say, oh shit, I fucked up, or oh shit, I forgot. Like I've done presentations for corporates and stuff, innit, and I've done presentation training and that. And one of the big things people will tell
let me get it. One of
the big things people will tell you is that you're letting people know that you've made a mistake. Yeah. Like you don't need to let people know that that wasn't meant to go like that. Yeah. Now, if you can do that, then you're already one ahead, and people ain't gonna judge you for it. Now, people are judging Unam for a choke that he didn't need to let people know that even happened. Do you get what I'm saying?
What I was
and that's gonna do worse for him.
In the venue, how did it feel in the venue? Did it feel like, because it's hard to say what I'm trying to ask. It's like, let's say any battle, right? It doesn't matter what length of the battle. If you step in a battle and you choke after 8 bars, it doesn't matter whether it's in the venue or on camera, everyone's going to be like, fuck, he had a really bad choke. But what I'm saying is, when we all left, right, we spent quite a while discussing the battle the same night. All that people spoke about, the point I'm trying to make is, all people spoke about was Unan choking, right? It's all people talked about. Was just like, oh my God, he might have had that if he didn't choke. But then every single fucking person who's watched the footage back has said he didn't even need to choke. Why did he choke? But what I'm saying is, on the night, none of us was saying he didn't need to choke. All we talked about is the fact he did. Because it just, I think everything in the moment is embellished and the magnitude of it, because it's a title match. You're like, oh my God, it's a title match. Yeah. So what did it feel like to you?
Yeah, well, it was one of them classic battles where, like, you've got 2 relatively even first round, second round, and it's always quite hard to give it 2-0 to someone. So you're already there sort of thinking, well, if Yunan's won that first one and they're pretty much dead level, you're probably going to give it to Kraft the second one and see what happens in the third.
My whole thing is like, can we agree that Yunan beat himself?
No, no, we can't. We can't agree that whatsoever.
We relax, bro.
That's my next question. What you think if Yunan didn't choke, he would have won?
It's not about didn't choke.
No, it is. No, it literally is because you just said
for
he
me,
beat himself.
Yeah, no, I do feel he beat himself, but I do feel that he wasn't A1 Yunan. I do feel that.
Yeah, but that's taking it away from Kraft. I already just realised too much. This conversation has been focused on what Yunan did wrong. We haven't even touched yet on what Kraft did right.
Kraft beat Yunan.
He won, bro.
Yeah.
That's why I said Yunan handled it afterwards and said, "I lost the battle fair and square."
Yeah.
So how did he beat himself? Because that's saying that Kraft didn't beat him.
Because I still feel like, again, this is preference, innit? It's all subjective, innit? So, as a battle rapper, someone to go home and listen to, like I said in the last podcast, Yunan's more easy on the ear than Crafty for me.
But we're not talking about generalizations, bro.
I know,
we're talking about the actual battle that happened.
I know, but what I'm saying is that I still believe that I could sit there and watch a A1 Yunan beat an A1 Crafty.
But it didn't happen.
I know it didn't.
But we're talking about what actually happened.
What actually happened is
Yunan beat himself.
An A1 Crafty beat a not A1 Yunan. That's what actually happened.
But that's not beating yourself, though. Because beating yourself. No, it's not. Beating yourself is Kraft.
Beating yourself is not being the best you can be.
No, that's not true. I disagree. Beating yourself
100%
is Yunan turns up for a 3.5 minute round battle with 0 bars and chokes every round. And Kraft D, hear me out. Kraft D spits some subpar bullshit. Oh, you're from Plymouth, 3 rounds dead. That's beating yourself. What actually happened was Kraft turned up with fucking 10 plus minutes of fire material. Yunan turned up with, let's say, 5 minutes of material he remembered, and he choked the rest. Crafty won. So the conversation actually needs to be, if Yunan got all of his bars out and he was on the trajectory he was up, would he have won or not? Because we all agreed he won the first round. I told this to Kraft. I'm not gonna lie, Kraft was not too happy to hear it. Like he was on a high. He was on a massive high from winning the clash. And I very calmly said to him, I mean, obviously, Yunan got the first round, and he looked like he'd seen a fucking ghost.
Turned his hat backwards.
He looked like he was about to be on stage doing some really indirect poem about me next week. But I told him straight. But so let's say, right, we all agree Yunan took the first. Okay, so what I'm saying is, is what you're saying that if he'd carried on like that, he would have beat everything Kraft said. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm asking you a question.
I found Yunan's second more enjoyable than Crafty's second. But again, this is the thing. I'm not taking away Crafty's skill. I understand that he did beat him down. But again, it's more pause. Beat him down. I don't know where that came from.
Hit him hard and beat him down is not a pause.
Bro,
it's something about you West London.
I knew you were going to say that.
Depends on slang and terminology.
You know how many times I had to hold it back? You're like, yo, he beat himself. I'm like,
He beat himself.
He hit him hard and beat him down. That's
beating yourself isn't even gay. Like,
bro, it's not even pause. It's just the phrasing of it. It's just
anyway.
Bro.
So,
but yeah, like I feel like I give Crafty his props in it. Yeah, like 100%. Like I said, I said to him on social media that I feel like he won in it. He won. Yeah. That's not the argument. Yeah. You know, my argument is that I still believe that an A1 Yunan would beat an A1 Crafty, and whatever reason we can assume whatever reason we want to as to why we never saw an A1 Yunan. But on that day, I feel like we never saw an A1 Yunan, and if we saw an A1 Yunan versus an A1 Crafty, I believe that the A1 Yunan would win. But I'm giving Crafty his win. He won on that day. The better man won. Like,
the thing is, there is now a new level of A1 Crafty, because that was the best. That was
his next opponent.
That wasn't it.
Really,
but if this was boxing, that would warrant a rematch.
I don't think that was an A1 Craft.
That's interesting.
If this was really boxing, that would warrant a rematch. And most champs in boxing, they get a rematch clause anyway. So if I fight you for my belts, I need a rematch to win my belt back.
Yeah, I don't.
This was a vacant title, though, wasn't it?
I know, so no one's winning their belt back. But
I don't think that was an A1 Craft. I think he was better against
really?
Red Flag. Yeah,
that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get.
He wasn't better against Red Flag.
I thought he was. I thought his material was better. I thought his punches were better. I think some of the punches he had against Yunan were good, but like I thought he was better against Red Flag.
But I suppose the Yunan punches were a little bit more hard hitting because we know the story.
Yeah, maybe.
Red Flags, like we don't really know much about.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I
feel like Kraft wrote more intricately and better for red flag because we don't know the stories. Whereas it's so much easier to write a punch about that everyone knows anyway. So you can just say any sort of
I disagree. I think it's harder to write the punch that
Really?
everyone knows. I try and stay away from that because it's gonna be so corny and so like it's anyone. 100 people are gonna do coronavirus bars, etc.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna write a coronavirus bar and I spit it on stage,
Yeah.
it's because I genuinely believe that this is way better.
there's
than
gonna
everything.
be
I think
like
Kraft's
10
been
that
better
night.
though. I do think Kraft's been better in other battles than in the Yunnan battle. He still won. He was still sick.
I don't
but
know.
just
For me
think-
personally, that's the best I've seen him.
Eric Cartman, if he was drawn by Seth MacFarlane.
yeah, that's sick. That's it. Yeah, that is sick.